The LA night pulsed around us. Music spilled from a club nearby. We were young, carefree, or so we thought. The air, thick with the scent of jasmine and exhaust fumes, held a premonition. Something felt off. My two friends and I walked back to our car. Laughter still echoed from our dinner, but a prickle of unease ran up my spine. A dark sedan had circled the block twice now. Its headlights seemed to follow our every move. "Guys, do you see that car?" I whispered, my hand instinctively gripping my phone. My friends, lost in their own conversation, brushed it off. "Just paranoia," they said. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. We quickened our pace. The sedan mirrored our movements. My heart hammered against my ribs. My friend Sarah noticed my change in demeanor. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. "That car," I muttered, pointing discreetly. The sedan had stopped at the intersection, engine idling. Our eyes met for a fleeting second. The man behind the wheel was shrouded in shadow, but his gaze was intense, menacing. Fear, cold and sharp, shot through me. "We need to get out of here," I hissed, pulling my friends along. This was no ordinary driver. This was trouble. We ducked into a narrow alleyway, hoping to lose the sedan. The smell of garbage and urine filled my nostrils, but the fear was a stronger stench. Footsteps echoed behind us. We weren't alone. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall and imposing, he wore a dark jacket and jeans. In his hand, a silver badge glinted under the dim streetlight. "LAPD," he barked, his voice gruff. "What are you doing here?" Relief washed over me. "The police. We were safe. We think someone is following us," I stammered, pointing back to the entrance of the alley. The officer's eyes narrowed. His gaze darted to my friend John, who was fidgeting nervously. Suddenly, the air was filled with the screech of tires and flashing red and blue lights. Two police cruisers screeched to a halt, blocking the entrance of the alleyway. The night sky was sliced by the blinding beam of a helicopter spotlight. My blood ran cold. This wasn't about the sedan anymore. This was something bigger, more terrifying. The officer from the shadows spoke into his shoulder, his voice low and urgent. He never took his eyes off us. "Hands where I can see them!" A voice boomed from behind the blinding headlights. Weapons drawn, more officers swarmed the alley, their faces grim, their movements sharp and practiced. We were surrounded. Panic seized me. My body trembled. This was surreal. A nightmare. "Get down on your knees!" a voice roared. Rough hands forced me down. The pavement was cold and rough against my skin. The metallic click of handcuffs snapping shut echoed in the narrow space. The world spun as I was roughly pulled to my feet. Disbelief mingled with terror. What was happening? John and Sarah were on their knees too, their faces pale masks of fear. We were suspects now, criminals. But why? One of the officers, his face hardened by years on the force, shoved a plastic bag in front of me. Inside, a broken plastic spoon lay nestled amongst a crumpled napkin and a few crumbs. "Is this yours?" he demanded, his voice laced with suspicion. I stared at the spoon, my mind racing. It looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. I don't know," I stammered, my throat dry. The officer's eyes narrowed. He didn't believe me. Or maybe he did, but it didn't matter. In that moment, I was guilty until proven innocent, and the fear that gripped me was colder and sharper than the cold steel of the handcuffs biting into my wrists.